Hey everyone, I am excited to make this video. One of the things that I've wanted to do on my adventure page is talk about and share non-disc golf experiences. I mean, so much of my life, if you follow me on my other pages, is all about my athletic career, if you can call it that at 53 years old. But it's about disc golf, teaching disc golf, etc. The adventure page is about travel, but I also want it to be about life and philosophies of life. I'm old-ish, but I've learned a lot. And I think I'm at a point in my life where I have a lot to share, not just because of age. I don't believe you should automatically listen to someone because they're older. You should listen to someone of any age if they succeed in an area that you're interested in. So I don't care how old or young you are, if you're not successful at business, probably don't want to take business advice from that person, right? If someone's not healthy, you probably don't want to take fitness advice. Well, I'm far from perfect, right? I mean, I got plenty of flaws in the tank. But I have figured out a lot about life and business and being successful. I'm the most successful financially that I've ever been in my life. I'm very comfortable now. And I've also found out or discovered how to be happy. And that's what this video is going to be about, is I want to share, and it'll be an abridged version, but what I think the key to happiness is in this world. I could be wrong. This is just one man's opinion, but I feel like I figured it out. And if anyone is interested, please post in the comments. I'd be happy to do a live stream. We can field questions, we can interact with people who are interested in this. But I'm going to share you my belief as to what the key to happiness in life is, and also the steps to start to achieve it. So I'll start by saying, I think the biggest thing that causes unhappiness, and I'm going to exclude things, childhood abuse and mental illness and depression. I mean, there's things that are outside my scope of being able to provide anything that would help in that area. So this is more just regarding life skills. But I think the biggest key to unhappiness in people's lives is, I don't think most people are living the life they want to live. They are not on the path they should be on. Now, this is career, this is family, this is relationships, where they live, what they own, what their hobbies are, their physical fitness. It doesn't matter. I don't think most people are on the path they want to be on. Now, it's understandable why they're not. And this is why at times in my life earlier that I wasn't on my path. And that's because we are constantly influenced by everything around us. That whether they're trying to or not, they're effectively telling us how to live our lives. Okay, this starts with our parents, but it's our schools, it's our friends, it's our churches, television, books, media, society, social media, obviously is a big one now, or has been for years. But everybody has an idea of how you're supposed to live life. And I think most of it, in one form or another, is bullshit. There isn't one way to live life. There's not one path. But almost everybody or everything I just mentioned has an idea of a specific path. Like when I was in school, I was taught that you want to be successful, you need to go to college. That's one very narrow path. If you go to church, they probably tell you that the successful relationship is to marry one person and be with that person for the rest of your life and no one else. Okay, those things aren't wrong. Okay, college isn't wrong. A monogamous marriage for life isn't wrong, but they're not for everybody. Right? There's so many different ways to go through life. Like, let's look at the relationship thing I just mentioned. There's, again, nothing wrong with a single partner, monogamous relationship, finding your soulmate, finding the one for life. That's not the only way to have relationships. Okay, you can have not one long-term relationship that gets monotonous and boring over time, provides security and stability, but it lacks passion in many of these relationships. You could forego that and instead have a lot of short-term relationships in your life. Exciting, passionate, new relationship energy. When it gets old, you move on. Okay? You will be judged if that's how you live your life. That's wrong. There are people that are going to be happier doing that than in a single relationship. You can have multiple partners. That's allowed. You don't have to have just one partner if you don't want to have one partner. You can also have 0 partners. You don't have to have relationships. You don't have to be with anybody, or you can be with people for short stints. You could be with friends that you fool around with once in a while, but don't want to commit to because they interfere with the other things in life that you like. There's not a damn thing wrong with any of those things. What's wrong is when you're told that there's only one type of relationship that you have to have, and then buying into it and having that relationship, not because it's right for you, but because you're told to do it that way. Same thing holds true for, obviously, like I said, career, right? Anyone that says the only path to being successful in life, in your career, is college is insane. There is not a damn thing wrong with being an entrepreneur. There's not a damn thing wrong with trade work, okay? There's sinks are always gonna break, okay? If you're a plumber, you can have a damn good life as a plumber without ever going to college. By the way, you can also have several employees working several job sites, and you can be a very financially successful plumber who retires young. What's important to know is that there's not just one path. There's not one place to live. There's not one place. There's not one set of hobbies you're supposed to have. Like, none of these things are fixed in stone. So, the first key to happiness is you have to, as best as possible, you need to wipe your brain clean of as much outside influence as possible. And you need to examine all the important parts of life. And you need to come to your own conclusion as to which path is right for you. Now, it doesn't mean you don't listen to other people, right? You may trust your church, you may trust your parents, you may respect an author whose books you like, okay? You listen to them, but you don't do what anybody tells you to do because they told you to do it. You listen to them, you process it, and you figure out what's best for you. And you create your own path. And that's the path that you're going to choose to live on. Now, it is not required that you live on your path and live the life you want to live to be happy. Okay, that's not the case at all. What I believe is that if you're not living the life you want to live and you don't have a plan to get there, that's where you're going to be unhappy. Okay, this is being in prison and not having a parole date to look forward to. I suppose there's probably some psychology that says accepting your lot in life, probably allows you to deal with some of these emotions more. So maybe that's a bad example. But what's important is that you have a path, okay? There's different challenges depending on what point you are in your life as far as finding your own path. And they're unique to where you are in your life at the time you decide that you want to live the way you want to live. Like if you're younger, there's so much uncertainty out there. Can I do this? Is it possible? Do I go against everything I've been told by everybody in my life that matters to me? Because I know it's just not right for me. Like that's a terrifying thought. I've been married twice because I thought you're supposed to get married. That's just what you're supposed to do. I'm in my 20s now. I've done it. A lot of people have done it. But the sooner you can figure out, if you're younger anyway, that you don't have to listen to those and then be willing to take the plunge and live the way you want to live or as close as possible, the sooner you're going to find happiness. You're not going to like discover how to be happy later in life. You start to discover it sooner. By the way, it also changes. Okay, you don't have to have all the answers. This is one of the lies that adults tell young people, is that, oh my God, you're 15 years old and you already got to be thinking about your college major. What kind of bullshit is that? 15-year-old kid trying to figure out what they want to do with the rest of their life. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. No. Like, you don't have to have the answers, but you can start trying to figure out what you want and then be willing to evolve as you learn more. Keep an open mind to changing as you go. There's also, like, on the flip side, if you're older, okay, when you're older, you may be stuck in a situation. I don't care if it's a job you hate, a bad relationship, an economic level you don't like, being in a city you don't want to be in, like, whatever it is. It's not likely going to be easy just to change these things. I mean, if you have kids and you have a job that's paying the bills and supporting the family, but all you really want to do is play guitar in a rock band. Okay, I'm sorry, you can't just quit your job and start to play in a rock band. You got kids, you have responsibilities, right? There's barriers to succeed at this. Maybe you're in a relationship that isn't great. Well, it's not necessarily, depending on your situation, just so easy to bail, okay? So it's not that you have to be on the path to be happy. But what I feel you can do is, if you begin to identify how you want to live your life, you can be happy the moment you start to make a plan to achieve these things, okay? You have the job that you hate. You'd rather do something else. Okay, you don't have to do something else to be happy. But the moment you start taking college courses, right? I'm not anti-college as a rule. You start taking college courses or start studying this, I think you start to get happy because you start to see progress towards that goal. And as soon as you start to see that, that's that parole date, bad analogy, you can then grab onto that, and that can bring you happiness. Getting out of a bad relationship, my God, that is the most painful thing I've done in my entire life, is going through a bad divorce. Nothing's ever been worse. But when you begin the process of pulling that Band-Aid off, you start to see what's possible. I think you can start to be happy in a situation where you could stick in it and never be happy again. Maybe for the rest of your life. I mean, we know people that are, everybody knows people that have been married for 50 years, and you watch them together and you're like, they're freaking miserable. But they get applauded at weddings. Who's been married for 50 years? And they stand up, everybody cheers. Yay, that's a success. You're married for 50 years. And you're like, these are the most unhappy people I've ever met in my life. Don't applaud that. It's a tragedy. So the minute you start the process, as painful as it is, the moment you're heading towards those goals. It's the same thing as starting your own business. Maybe you want to work for yourself, be an entrepreneur. Maybe you can't quit your job because you got a college fund you're building. Okay, that's fine. But you start the process of building this business and growing this business slower than you want because it's part-time, you got responsibilities. But if that business starts and you start to actualize the things that you plan for, you will find happiness. You will find happiness because you're heading towards that goal. By the way, I'm not even sure you have to ever even achieve that goal. Like, just the fact that you believe you're going to achieve that goal, that's enough to get you going in that direction. There's a third type of person, and this is the unicorn, because this person basically doesn't exist, but it's the person who can just drop everything and just reinvent themselves tomorrow and have no fear, no anxiety, has no problem ignoring what everyone else tells them, and it has no responsibilities in their life. I mean, that person basically doesn't exist. So if you think you can't achieve these things because you're not that person, nobody's that person. All right, some of the worst things I've ever heard is when people say, well, I just need to get all my ducks in a row before I do whatever that next thing is. It's like your ducks are never going to be in a row. Or one of my favorite expressions, a 5-year plan is always 5 years away. Okay, and by 5-year plan, I don't mean something that might take 5 years to accomplish. You have a couple, you have an 8 and a 10-year-old at home. This could be a 10-year plan before you're thinking about changing careers, right? But the 5-year plan, meaning in 5 years, I'm going to start working towards that goal. Oh, when I hit 40, then I'm going to start thinking about traveling, or I'm going to start thinking about changing careers, or, when the kids get out of school, that's when I'll start thinking about it. It's like, no, you need to start now. You need to start that process. The thing you have to do, well, I guess you don't have to do anything, but if the thing I recommend that you do to accomplish this is you start and put a lot of time and thought into this, identifying the path you want to be on. And then you have to create a roadmap to that path. You have to list all the different things that you need to do to accomplish it, and break it into the smallest and most digestible things you could possibly do. Okay, I mean, it could be as simple as in the month of June, I'm going to read a book on how to start a hair salon. Okay, that's just reading one book. Like, you can't open a hair salon for 10 more years. You got kids you're trying to send to college, but you start that process. I did this. Oh God, I wish if Adrienne was here. She actually still has this with her. She kept it in her purse. If you ever bump into me, like, she can pop this out and actually show this to you. I did this when it came to relationships. For the first time in my life, I actually tried being alone. I'd always done one-on-one monogamous relationships with, the eventual goal of marriage, right? The relationship escalator. We're together, relationship, then we're committed, it's monogamous, we get an apartment together, that's the process. When I had time to rethink this about what I wanted in my relationship or relationships, I made an itemized list. And then I eventually showed her that list, and now she has it in a plastic bag in her purse still. It's really funny. But I had a list of all the things that I require from a relationship. I decided I'm no longer going to enter a relationship and go, hey, I really like this person. They're fun to hang out with, or we have chemistry, or we're attracted to each other, or something like that, and therefore it's a good relationship. I actually had a list of things that I was going to check off when I meet someone, and a number of things on the list were deal breakers. Like I made an actual list of needs versus wants. The needs are the non-negotiable things. I need to have this in a relationship, period, or else it's not happening. And then I had a bunch of wants, which were, I would like these things to be a certain way, but I'm totally up to negotiate it not being that way, because there has to be some compromise as well in the relationship. But I figured out which things I wasn't going to compromise. And I in my mind, I said, I'm happy to be alone. Not alone, I'm gonna have partners, right? But I'm happy to not be in any type of relationship for the rest of my life if I don't find someone that just checks these boxes. And I'm not gonna waffle on that, because that's my path. I'm not gonna have a happy relationship unless it looks like this. And it didn't happen immediately, but I found it. I found that thing, but it happened only because I identified those things and I passed up on it. I mean, I have other partners, right? And that I like and cared about, but I didn't do my old habit of okay, well, I'm gonna make this one work. It's it's great. We're still friends, but I'm gonna move on. And the next thing you know, then I found it. But anyways, the point is it started by making an actual list of what my relationship had to look like on paper, in writing, that I could actually look at and then go, let the logic part of my brain, not the other parts of my brain, think and go, does the person do this? Well, I think the same thing holds true for your career and how you want to live and where you want to live and what the future looks like. It's got to be on paper. Metaphorically, I suppose. If you're younger, you'll put it in your notes app. But you got to write it down. I think this is it. I think that's the happiness. It comes down to just this idea of finding your path. That's why there's not one answer. That's why when someone says the key to happiness is this type of relationship or having this type of career that you like, no, you can't project onto anybody else what the answer is to their happiness. What I'm saying is that the key to happiness is to find your own path and basically tell everyone else to shut the hell up and do things your way. Figure out how to make your way work, even if it's hard and it takes time. As long as you're on the path to that, I think you can be happy. Boy, this is really dramatic video. I hope it doesn't feel like I'm on my soapbox pretending like I'm some kind of expert. I'm not. I'm not an expert. I just figured out what worked for me. Right, that's the soapbox police coming to knock me off. To tell me that I'm getting too big for my britches and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So take it with a grain of salt. If it helps, if this is interesting, let me know in the comments, and I'd be happy to do like a live stream. We could chat about this. Okay? I really think I figured this life thing out. It only took 53 years, well, maybe like 50 years to figure it out. If I can help you figure it out sooner, or if I can help you change your path later while you still have years in front of you, then I'd be very, very happy with that. All right, thanks everyone.